So here it is, episode 100 of No Shame. We have brought you an exclusive today, the launch of the Hooligan. Many characters from the book The Hooligan we have had here, right here on the No Shame podcast couch. Them people are special in my life. Sometimes I only touched on them on the book, but that doesn't mean that they were a small part of my journey. We could have wrote a book on many of these characters. I feel that if you combine the book and the podcast, that you will have an ultimate experience on the book and on the podcast. To the people all across the world, people that message us from Australia, that the podcast connects them to home. For people that have discovered themselves out of the podcast and discovered that we're all very alike. We are not that much different as humans, no matter what walks of life we come from. The most powerful thing that we can do is get together and have a conversation. Thank you for all of the support you've given us over the last 100 episodes, all of the messages that have been sent, the people who follow the Instagram pages. We see all of it. We see all of the messages. And I want to say for myself, Paddy Holohan, to you, thank you so much for the support. And let's do another 100. From 22, here's the book launch of the Hooligan, exclusively to the No Shame audience. Enjoy. I swear that was a funeral pizza. You could speak at my funeral by the sounds of that.
Who's that one?
Oh, I'm the red one, yeah.
Paddy's on the red one. I wonder why.
The man gave me a red microphone and told me it was a red wire because I had a red head.
Well, Paddy, how do you feel? Almost a week into it now. First of all, can I just say, what a cover. One of the best I've ever seen. I'm biased, but it's the people at Gill have done an incredible job. It's just stunning.
It's surreal, to say the least. I said a minute ago, I feel like I'm going to walk into the Long Mile gym that we all came up in and I'm going to turn around and go, boys, why did you check out the dream we had last night? Like, that's literally what it feels like. The amount of people that came here to support me that I've known, so they know me. They know who sits here, has sat in many places with them and just being the same person. And I think that's refreshing. People need to see that a little bit more, you know?
You were a bit nervous the night before it went out. I remember I got a voice message, I'm shitting it, Richie, I'm shitting it. What did it feel like seeing your face plastered all over the walls for good reason?
It was it's pretty crazy to be able to kind of like put your life into it. When I got the opportunity to do it, the biggest reason why I wanted to do it was because in 200 years, somebody can pick up a book with my name on it and say, that's a great-great-great-grandfather, and that's a timeline to his life in a way. And everything else doesn't matter. All the beef, all the money, all that doesn't matter. At that stage, that's the only thing that matters. And I know that for as long as I'm going to be dead, or as long as I'm going to live, I'm going to be dead for a lot longer than that. So I'm trying to sow the oats for the old death as well, you know. So the kids are all right.
Just to go through the format of what we're going to do tonight. So we've got the book here, we've got some extracts. So we're going to read a couple of sentences without ruining the book, and then Paddy's going to talk about those different events. So I guess we start off first, Paddy, back in Jobstown, right? He started it off, so he said, Tala was like its own little country in Dublin, and Jobstown for me was its capital. As much as I love Jobstown, living there was tough and caused me anxiety growing up. Do you think if you grew up anywhere else in Ireland, you'd be the person you are today?
I have so much love for not only for Jobstown, but for council housing estates like that all over the country. And not only even in our country, in England, in Manchester, in up and down, all over the world. The people, like the working class people, are the backbone of a country. And unfortunately, it turns out in a situation where they're led to believe that they're not the backbone. They really are the driving force of a country. So the people that I look around in Jobstown, there's so many powerful people there that have been working all their life and looking after their kids and setting great examples in the community alone. And then unfortunately, sometimes you get 1 or 2% that the media come in and they drag them 2 strings out, and that's a declaration of what Jobstown is. I've always carried that flag. Alongside the Ireland flag, the Jobstown flag was very close to me. I remember standing in the basketball arena, Owen Roddy will remember this, and I remember saying, like, I'm one of yous, like literally, yous could do what I am doing. I'm just one of yous that put my head together, and now here I am. And like after, I was like, that was actually a good line.
You call it a Jobstown passport.
A Jobstownian is what you would call it. And I said, it's not just Jobstown, it's a culture in working class communities, in council housing estates. it's a certain type of person. You could tell a story from my story, and someone in Manchester is going to get this. Somebody in America, somebody in a favela somewhere is going to get this, because we're all human and we're very, very alike. We just don't realise that. We're led to believe that we're not. So we go and buy loads of stupid things.
I remember you telling me first about Jobstown. I said, oh, I'm also from a working class area. But when you told me some of the stories, there's not too many places like that, to be honest. So can you give us a sprinkle of some of the crazy stuff you saw when you were younger?
There's this one story, and I don't think this made to the book, but there's a time when we were, there's a house in the state across the road from me called Killinarden, right? And they used to throw stones at us, so we throw them back. But we ended up in a situation where we were throwing stones at them and they were throwing stones at us, and someone decided it'd be a great idea to throw a wheel down the back of the hill and see what happens, right? So, there's my son turning, close your ears. So we're on the top of the hill, and he has this wheel, and he lobs it down the back of the hill, and it goes boom, 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 right onto the road, and inside of a Garda car. And it was like, everybody scarpered. It was like kicking a bush, I'm telling you. Me and my friend Sean, we ran one way, and everyone followed him because he was the oldest one. He looked like an alpha, so they were like, right, we can bait him. So they chased the two of us. My man opened the front door, and the two of us went through the front door, and she closed on the Garda. The Garda jumped over the back gate, right, and chased us. And me and Sean scaled the back wall. We ended up over the other side of the wall, and the Garda caught us and beat the shit out of us. So now listen, getting up from that height, you're kind of like, you alright? That's just the way it was. It was a different time, and to be honest, I'd rather like that rather than like taking it to court and all. Few slaps, let me go.
I remember you said there were a few times in Jobstown where you'd get a beating even if you did nothing wrong. Do you remember one time you said in the book, a lad that was much bigger than you but wanted to beat you up was too big, so he picked you up and brought you up to someone's house, knocked on the door and waited for someone smaller to come out to beat you up?
It's a true story. Yeah, at least he had ethics. I'll give him that. We can't be hitting you, bro. Find someone that can. And that was another story. And the end of that story is crazy because I ended up at a party years later, and this lad just happened to be there, and I had been in the UFC and all, so I was like, oh yeah, you alright? Oh, remember that time, man? And he's actually really sound, turned his life around, but that was a strange situation because he was a lot older than me. I remember he jumped off a bus, and he was walking across the field, and I was behind the house. There was no houses built there at the time, and it was in a field. And I seen him walking towards me, and you know someone's walking towards you. See, walking towards me? And he had a pair of Snickers on, so he was a lot older than me. And he grabbed me, and I remember he grabbed me, and I'm like, what? And he's like, you hit my little brother. I said, no, I didn't. But I remember being absolutely petrified, because all of the people grabbing me, it wasn't him grabbing me. And he leaned down and grabbed me and bit me ear. And I remember I was there like, ah! And I could feel like blood. The cauliflower on this side is like a little kind of divot in it now. And he dragged me up the road, made me knock on the door. Oh, you had to knock into this house. I'm knocking in, listen, such and such wants you to give me a hide. He wasn't in. Thank you. He wasn't in.
We joke about it now, but moments like that, they obviously molded you. Like it wasn't easy growing up. You can laugh now, but
I know.
It was difficult. And this book gave you an opportunity to revisit parts of your past that you admitted yourself that you'd never looked back at.
There was times when me and you were sitting there and talking, and I was like, oh, like this, I never really thought that anybody else, and Richie's from Cork, so it probably wouldn't be my first county to pick somebody to be honest. Just only messing. No, but I couldn't have done it without you. I really couldn't have, because there was times where you were like, fucking say a boy, and I was like, right, and I had to be dragged down with, because sometimes you don't want to talk about stuff, and your own body buries it deep down inside you. And it's strange, and there is times like that. I definitely wasn't laughing when that situation was going down when I was a kid. Absolutely not. I was petrified. I remember feeling my heart beating in my chest, and then not only that, but when I went back to my house, the idea of sitting there and closing the door, like feeling safe, you know what I mean? Until next time. but that's what it was like. It really is that what it's like. You got a good kick in the hole every now and again, and no one sued anybody on that back then, and it was raw. It was raw, Rich.
One of the strongest things for me was that Paddy said that, when the road was tough, he could come home and he could go into his bedroom and he could beat the pillow or he could cry or do whatever. But if his house hadn't been as safe as the road, if his house wasn't as safe at all, then he would have nowhere to hide, similar to a lot of the people he grew up with. And some of those people didn't make it today. They were dealing with all sorts.
Yeah, and that's the true reality of this situation, is some people didn't make it. And when I say didn't make it, some people are dead, some people lost their mind, some people went to pat and never came back. Some people kind of lost the idea of their self-worth and stuff like that. And then there's some people that made it, that definitely made it. There's some of my friends, when I say made it, they now have, they have happiness, they have a family, they have, they go to work, all of these things that, to me, that's making it. Not making it as in oh, look at them now, or anything like that. Making it is actually having a life, because when we started, we didn't start on the bottom floor, we started in the basement. And anybody that made it out of that situation made it to me. And there's loads of them that, even when I see them now today, they see me. I gave my mate Sean one of the books the other day. Probably the best comment I ever got, right? And if you read the book, you know Sean is in it. Sean was this kid that lived next door to me. Was a lot bigger. He was the one that ran through the house with me. Was always had my back. Now, but some days he'd give me a hiding as well. Let's be fair, but. He said to me, right, Davey book, I'm going to rip out page 8, I am, and then I'm going to give it to me son. When you read page 8, you'll probably understand what that means.
With your relationship with your mother as well, you opened up on, which is obviously a hugely difficult thing to do, and do it in such a public manner, but what's clear is that although she had her problems and it was difficult for you growing up, you love her dearly, and for you to, I suppose, lay everything out there, but still, maintain that relationship with your mother is something that's very, very difficult for anyone to do.
I love my mother more than anything. My mother is the strongest woman I know. My mother taught me how to treat women. My mother taught me most of the stuff in my life, and I only realised that as an older age. But what my mother did do, she raised 2 children that weren't easy in a council housing estate on very little money, and both of them are doing well. I have Chelsea. I couldn't even imagine us my son Turner and Seamus, I'm pulling my hair out and there's 2 of us, he's 10 months, Turners 11, he's stop pulling my hair out with him. But the idea is that I couldn't imagine what my mother did. I couldn't imagine doing that, and I am a strong person, and everybody here is a strong person. So you had to dedicate your whole life to making sure that your kids make it, and that's exactly what my mother did. And now I'm privileged to be in a situation where I look after her now, and it's great. And even when we were coming down this road with the idea of writing the book, she said to me, that's your story, and tell us some, you know what I mean? And when it comes up to the idea of the book and things like this, she's more proud of me for doing this, because the fighting thing, like any mother, not that she wasn't proud of me, but she just didn't get it. She didn't understand it. There was times I was going to fight in the 3 Arena, and I'd be like, Mom, I'm leaving now. I'm going down to the 3 Arena. And she'd be like, bye. She'd be upstairs. She wouldn't even be like, oh, look now, give us a hug. I can't. I'm watching Coronation Street. So we'd be like, sound, yeah? That's what it's like.
I remember you said you were going to fight, was it Artem Senkov? And you said, look, Ma, this fella could really hurt me. And she said, what are you on about? And you were like, oh, no, nothing. And then you headed off and you were driving down to was it in Tala? I think it was in National Stadium. Yeah. And you pulled onto the M50 instead, and you floored it for 100 miles per hour and just needed that time to yourself. And you said you didn't know were you going to swerve left and just end it all, or were you going to just take a deep breath and turn back up? And you turned around, went straight through there and beat him. And you told me that he looked like a fellow who cut his own hair, and that's always a dangerous.
Anybody that knows him will find that extra funny. True story. He was a very dangerous opponent, extremely dangerous opponent. Back in the day, he got a win against Conor very early on, and Conor to me was always the general, and still is. And the idea of being able to fight someone now that had kind of have a win over the general. Now this guy is he's not a scrapper. Anybody that knows him, he's a tricker. He's like a Bond villain. I've heard somebody calling him. He has this leg lock game. So what he does is he grabs an overhook and he rolls on his leg. And anybody that's a fighter in the room knows the idea of it can end in 30 seconds and nobody knows what happened. And that was the biggest fear that I was having that day. I was training for a guy that could come in and end the fight in 30 seconds and everybody in the room wouldn't even know how it was over. It'd just be like, what happened? Oh, shy. That's what I want to be like. And this is in my hometown and I'm sold out. So with the idea of a guy breaking my leg off, I had all of that in the back of my pocket as well. So I remember saying to my mum, listen man, like if I lose tonight, don't worry about me. I might come home, but I am going to have a broken leg if I come back, and don't panic about it. And anybody, the US boys know, if you lose against this guy, and I had made peace with that in my head. The way he goes in with this fight, if you go in, he gets your leg, let him break it. And I'm telling you, when I was driving there, I was like looking at my leg and saying, okay, you know what I mean? And I was going into that little zone I was like, and I was like, most of the people that, like Tommy and Colin, they would have been like fighting on this card as well, so we went through this together. And we're all going through these individual things. And I remember the basketball arena, when you're coming down, there's like a pull-off from the M50 or the basketball arena, and I said, you know, it's too early, you don't be hanging around all that energy. So I pulled down onto the basketball or onto the M50 and just literally, and I remember, and like it just, I don't know what I was trying to do. I wasn't trying to hold myself or anything like that, but I just needed to feel something that was just more scary than what I was driving to face, you know? And then listen, I was getting, like I think I got €500 to fight the two of these lads in the same contract. So it wasn't about money, definitely wasn't about money, it was about keeping me leg at that stage, and that was a scary situation. But then, Roddy over here as well, this man is a legend, alright? When I walked into SBG the first time, I remember seeing a poster with him on the door, and I remember being like, wow, that's amazing. You could do that, like. And then I found out that he was very much like me. That he was a council kid. He's from the Mun. You know, he's from Ballymun, and I was like, wait, fuck, you can do this, you know. And he gave me the little spark at that time, but he wouldn't have probably even realised that. And the boy was trained for this camp at the same time. Already was going to fight Shannon Googety, who was like a guy who had fought in the UFC, and now this was like, this guy's a UFC fighter, and I was going to fight someone that snaps your leg off. And so we met each other and just boxed snot off each other for about 8 weeks. Like, and there's a great video of it in 10,000 hours there is, and like I have a contact fighters only t-shirt that I robbed off you, Dan. Where is it? Oh yeah, I still have that t-shirt, by the way. Oh, sorry, yeah. You know the one? I robbed that. You know, where's that t-shirt gone? Till now. And it's covered in blood on this. My nose is bleeding. Your nose is definitely bleeding. Yeah. When you reverse into the car park and the gym, his nose starts bleeding. Stop. It's the truth, but the two of us have the nose to tell the tale today, don't we? You're only saying that. But this was an incredible moment that me and Roddy went in, and not only that we did the business. We sold it out. I got the win. I stood there, didn't even go backstage, waiting for Roddy. My leg was mangled. Roddy came out. There's a great story on the No Shame podcast about where Roddy's standing on the stage and his mate coming up to him and all, he's like, oh God, I'm going to a fight instead, you should check it out. But, and we did the business, and we stood there, and there's a great picture of us in the book with the two of us, and like, blood all over us, and we're just, like, we're not doing it for money. Like, it was the GAA at that time, you know, and it was incredible because that true passion shone through, you know. It was amazing.
You were under pressure throughout that camp because of the free t-shirt and a month's gym membership, was it, for the leg locking you?
Yeah. Do you remember this? Yeah. So what happened was that there was a month's membership put on my head that somebody submitted me with a footlock. They got a 3 months membership and a t-shirt. I was like, holy shit. Alright? So it got dangerous quick. You know what I mean? I told my people, like, yeah, you're going to do well to like, t-shirt, month's membership. You might make it to the fight, Paddy. But it was one of those situations, and it was actually a guy named Pavel that had the footlocks at the time. Pavel, do you remember Pavel? Pavel was this Polish guy. He actually went on to save somebody in a garage when it was getting robbed one day. Someone tried to rob the garage, and Pavel jumped through like a hero, wrestled the guy, strangled him, and all was in the newspaper. It was absolutely amazing. My claim to fame is Pavel, right? Because he had the footlocks, and I knew if he didn't get me, nobody was getting me. I remember even Connor grabbed me one time, and Connor wouldn't be a footlock, you know what I mean? And he tried to take my ankle off. And I don't even think he needed the month's membership, it was just a challenge. There's a challenge on that foot, and I'm having it. You know what I mean? And that was it. It was a mad moment.
So to fast forward, The Ultimate Fighter was probably the next big chapter in your career. Tell us about that. You were sitting in a gaff one night, loads of cans.
The boys are here tonight anyway, just Robin, Adam. Yeah. I think were you there that night? Yeah. Apparently, she doesn't know. No one's supposed to be there. Sorry for that. But yeah, we were sitting there and we're literally just a UFC night, and there was exactly everything going on that you expect to be going on. And all of a sudden Dana White pops up on the telly and he turns around and goes, we're going to do a 135-pound division. Ronda Rousey's going to be the coach. And I'm sitting there going, holy shit, I've been waiting for this. You know, there was no 135-pound division when we were chasing the UFC gold. I was actually chasing the WEC at the time, which would have been called, which was like not the UFC. So to me, the dream was to get to the UFC, and I would have fought 145 pounds at that time if I had to, because I was fighting at bantamweight, and I never fought in flyweight until I got to the UFC. Didn't even know I could make it when I signed the contract, but I signed the contract. When we got to this situation, I'm lost again. Whatever. Got lost.
You were going over, you were offered a 3-man Grand Prix.
Oh yeah, I was standing in the airport and I got offered the Cage Warriors title. I did, and like it was like murderer's row on it. You know what I mean? I was going to have to go through like bedlam again to get Cage Warriors title, and it wasn't going to be life changing money, and the belt was actually going to hinder me, to be honest. And I was very lucky to have Cottle, who was a world champion at Cage Warriors, Chris. And Conor was a double award, so I kind of knew the idea. I was looking at the belts and I was like, but they're not equal to what we need. Like I need to provide for my family. I have a kid, and I'm standing in the airport, and John rang me and said, sign the contract. And I was like, I don't really want to sign the contract, to be honest. And he was like, listen, sign the contract. We'll sort it all out. Sign the contract. And I said, nah, listen, I can't do that. And I kind of hung up the phone, and I didn't sign the contract. And then when we got to the Ultimate Fighter, they sit you in a room, and they turn around and go to you, right, anybody that's under contract, put your hands up. And all these guys are, can you please leave the room? And I was like, whoa, like that. I would have landed in contract, and it would have made no sense. I was at the paying 1,500 quid or something like this to get this opportunity. It popped up at the time, as I said, we were sitting in a room, Dana White came on the telly, what I was chasing hadn't even existed yet. It was a 135-pound division, and then they brought in the flyweight division, and when he mentioned that there was going to be another full-time fighter, we just knew I was going to be on it. I am going to that, and they mixed it, so it was Ronda Rousey and Kat Sangago, or whatever her name is. But it was supposed to be Misha Tate at the time, but she didn't make it. So that was mental. So me and my mate Adam, what was that like, Adam? You know what I mean? I think Robin actually gave us the credit. You didn't alone for it, did you? I think that's the truth, like. Really is. And the friends are sitting here now with a book launch, and to me that's what your mates are about, you know. And cheers, Robin, I'll get that back to you, yeah? I'll pay it back. But me and Adam ended up packing our bags and heading over, and it was pretty crazy, because at the time I was leaving turning, and I remember like signing these contracts, and I'm heading off for like maybe 6 weeks, maybe not 6 weeks. I was kind of the first person to be hitting that road. No one had gone to the Ultimate Fighter except Paul McVeigh back in the day, and we were like, we get some information. That's how it was back in the day, send out a pigeon. And we were trying to get the information on what the Ultimate Fighter was, but what happens is that you go over, you do the trials, we're in a room, there's 380 people there or something, and there's like 16 male spots. I'm the only Irish man there. So it was a little bit overwhelming, wasn't it, Adam? Well, Adam kept me going. There's lads walking around with like full Viking gear on and all, and like it's weird. It's not, you know, it's not. The trials for it are like a strange place to be, especially for the whole day. So you're there for 18 hours, and literally 18 hours we were there all day, and it was draining. You're in a process like the X Factor, if you must. You know, it's a production team telling you what to do. It's not a nice process. It really is, and especially for my one, because it was the first time females, I think, were going to be introduced to it as well. So there was a massive the void in the room, if you must, and it was like loads of this energy and all. But and anyway, we got picked for it.
Remember the paperwork?
Yeah, right. The paperwork. That was when we went back over. So what happened is Adam flew home. I stayed in Vegas, done my medicals, went home to Ireland, and then what they do is they ask you to say, right, are you going back? And you have to wait to get the answer. So we got the answer. I got picked, so I was going to be on the Ultimate Fighter. So it was massive to me. It was this. Do you remember that, Tommy? Do we were rolling around actually probably a day or two before that, and I was telling you my leg is just going numb. My leg, I only remember back to it now because I was like, I'd see it now. I'd see it as a coach now what the injury was, and it was in the gym before I'd even left. So when we left, you go over, and a lad met me at like a garage, and I was like, yeah, you Paddy Holohan? I was like, yeah. And he brings me over to Palace Station, and you have to stay in this room. We had to stay in this room for 4 days, right? Now, some people are like, you're staying out. It was the worst thing ever. I wasn't able to leave the hotel room. You've done as well, Carl, haven't you? 2 days. 2 weeks. We allowed to leave the room. Yeah, see, you sussed it. Because you sussed it with the swim pool and going to the gym or something, didn't you? I didn't leave. Like, we've been around for 4 days, right, eating off a menu in a hotel. The lad that was coming up to me, like, at the door, giving me food. All right, mate, have a conversation here. Come on. You know what I mean? What's the score on the match? Sitting there, watching American TV, all the advertisements about, like the presidents and all, and there was an election on, and it was like torture. That's what it was like. And then eventually they bring you down to a room and they put you all together and they say you're fighting that lad, and then they send you back to your room, and then a bus comes and collects you and brings you to fight that lad. You get thrown into this big huge kind of like factory place, and now you're fighting somebody. It's a mad situation. It's not easy. It's not an easy situation. I ended up drawing a guy, a Canadian lad, who was, like, he was 20 in wrestling, and they were all pins. And he was 9-0 in MMA, and they were all decisions. I was like, beautiful. That's exactly what I need to look perfect. You know, I need somebody coming here trying to take my head off so he can go for it. And like Artem knows, about you being on that, Artem had 2 knockouts on the show, and like it's a hard life. You know what I mean? And that was at that time. That was my way to change my life. Now, the fight didn't go my way. I lost, and guess what happens? Right now, and all of that goes to waste, and you go home, and you get nothing. You don't get paid, you don't get money, you just go back to where you were, and that's it.
But you couldn't tell people about the result either.
Yeah, that's another. So you can't tell. You're in like a confidential kind of thing, and it just didn't go well for me at that time. And it was a time in my life where I really needed it to go well. Now, but one thing that did go well out of it, I ran around to Dana White after we lost, and I said, "Listen, Dana, when you come back to Dublin, 125, I'm your man. Make us a promise." And he said, "Yeah." And he shook my hand, and he's a man of his word.
So, Paddy, when you came back from that fight, you were obviously down, is one way to put it. So here's a little extract. You said. He was after suffering a back injury as well at the time.
Yeah, I slipped the disc, as I said, going over, but then on the way back I had to sleep on the plane. I could not move. My leg wasn't working. I was in a bad way. I came back a lot worse than I left, and I was broke.
So there was one specific instance where you were walking with Tiernan through, I'd say it was Tala, was it? And basically he said, 1 or 2 from the gym reached out to me. I don't know if people really knew how badly I was feeling. I physically reached rock bottom when walking Tiernan to his friend's house one morning. My back locked up and I fell straight to the floor, unable to move. Tiernan was so upset, looking at me lying in the grass, unable to help his father, tears flowing down both of our faces. "Are you okay, Dad? Just go and get your ma, Tiernan." I must have been there for 15 minutes, lying in the field, motionless, crying, and of course it started to piss rain too. A pathetic fallacy for a pathetic man. Why me? Why did I go through such a shitty childhood for it all to just end like this? It wasn't supposed to end like this. I had visions of coming home after winning the Ultimate Fighter and handing money to my coach, my son, to the people who mattered. But here I was, soaking wet from a mix of tears and rain, lying helpless in a field in Dublin. The hooligan inside me awoke again. Don't fucking quit. Not now. Get up. It's good, bye. Tell us about that moment.
Listen, we are all human, as I said at the start of this, and we're very alike, but when we go through these moments, it's very important to understand that there is a rise out of this, there is a way back, and the curve always comes back up. At that moment in my life, I wouldn't have had that information, I wouldn't have had that knowledge now. You know, at that moment, I was like, this is it, this is the end of it. The ship is setting sail for the UFC, and I'm not going to be on it. Like, I'm sitting here, I think I was 9-0 at the time. I would have been definitely fighting, you know. And then the idea was, I was not even nervous. I was nervous about getting the surgery, and then like, what then? Even like, do I want to just get the surgery and just be normal and go and get a job in a shop, and then have that regret over for me for the rest of my life that like I could go to say being somebody. And the idea is, I would have been sitting in a situation now where, like, I would have been happy for all of the lads, and I've always had that ability in me to be happy for people, but to be able to watch it from putting so much work into it would have been so much hard to see those guys going to the UFC and doing what they're doing, and I'm literally, I can't even walk, you know what I mean, and then in front of Tiernan as well, it was like, without any fights or anything like that, I was trying to be as strong as possible for that, you know what I mean, and he was only young, I think he was only 5 or 6 at the time, and it was one of them situations where I was like, hey, my life. It was rough.
But you bit down again, and the hooligan. Can you tell us about the hooligan? This voice inside you that wills you on.
There's 3 people that talk to me. Like, there's that chimp part of me, There's that human part of me, and there's that part, and we all have it. I call him the hooligan, where he comes in them times when you need him, and he's hard on you a little bit. Get up, you know what I mean? What are you doing lying down like that? You're like, don't be a pussy. Get up. And you need that in you. You need that voice in you. And the thing is, some people talk back to him and go, no, I'm actually too tired. And sometimes that voice goes away and then it leaves you where you are. Mine doesn't. Mine grabs me by the scruff of the neck. It's like I have a spring installed in my rock bottom. When I hit it, I actually become more powerful. It's like I have nothing to lose. I'm after it again. And this has happened to me a few times in my life. And I kind of, not that I enjoy rock bottom, but it's all right now, you know what I mean? I'm like, can't wait to see what happens out of this one, you know, because that is what happens. And I've learned that to be able to pass it on to my own students and the young people that I teach, not only martial arts, but teaching life in a way as well. That because there is times where they would be going through something and I would be saying to them, if we could just show you that it's going to be grand, it's going to be grand. And that's a huge part that we have to put inside us. And there's a lot of people that I know that are even sitting in this room that are like that. And I would have scratched loads of that power off people. You know, it's that hooligan voice. When I stand at the door, there's doubt on one side, there's fear on the other. I grab them both of them by the hand and I march them motherfuckers into that cage. And I make them get in there with me. And they just disappear. That's it. It's like we're gone and that's the end of it. And that's what you have to do.
And every time you've hit rock bottom, something good has come around the corner, and I guess you maintain that throughout your life then. So if something goes bad again, you can drive on. So there's just two sentences here that I think I really like. So it's, take these last 2 minutes in, Paddy, John whispered. These are the last 2 minutes your life is ever going to be normal. And that was just before the Sampo fight in UFC Dublin that night.
And that's if life was normal before. You know, I was like, oh, that means, what are you on about? Tell me more. There wasn't the time for that conversation. And he was dead right. He was 100% right. Take this moment in. This is going to be where your life changes forever. And I'm like, whoo, you know, because I was waiting for it. And I'm telling you, we all know, Carl was there, the guys that were on that card, that fought on that card, you would have had to, Ash was in the Ultimate Firehouse at that time, and you would have had to had an army to take us out that night. Carl proved it, you know what I mean? No one was beating us that night. And no matter what anybody had said to me at the door, if they had made me nervous, it wouldn't have mattered because I was so prepared. I've never been more prepared for something in my life. That night I was prepared to do anything to get that win. I mean it, anything. The idea of walking after the place, John was definitely right, because I said, you know, I'll have a little stroll away. So I tried to stroll out the back gate of the Tree Arena, you know, the back gate with my school bag, and literally it took me 3 or 4 hours to get back over to the yoke. But it was mad. It was like the switch went on, and I was like you're famous now, you know. People turn around, Paddy Holohan, I'm like, no, it's not. And it was pretty mental. But in the build up to that fight, there's a funny story. Did you go over that one?
Which one?
The coconut story.
The pea and ham soup story?
No, that wasn't that one. That's different.
The pea and ham soup is after it, is it?
I'll tell you that one.
Go coconut first, and then
the coconut story, right?
The weigh-in.
Yeah, if you're ever going to make weight, don't drink coconut water straight after it, right? Because after the weigh-in, before this fight, I guzzled after the weigh-in, I guzzled loads of coconut water, and then I had to do loads of media, right? And then when we got on the bus, I was like, uh-oh, right? I was nil by mouth for about a week or 2 we was, so my body was just absorbing everything, but the coconut water was going straight through. And we got to the lift in Gill, right? Or not Gill, do you hear me?
The Gibson, was it?
The Gibson, yeah, in the Gill. There's a plug for you. In the Gibson, and we literally got to the lift, and people are like, Paddy, for pictures, and I'm like, yeah, and I'm getting close to the lift, and I'm pushing the button, and I'm like, whoa! And I could have been made famous for shitting myself in the Gibson, and that was my thought. I'm like, if I shit myself here, that's it. There's going to be no one on newspaper articles tomorrow saying Paddy Holohan.
What do we say? Your body was like the M50, free-flowing traffic, all jammed up.
I'm not messing. Put something solid in there before you put the coconut water in. I'm not messing. Especially as a fighter. Sorry for being disgusting.
Do you remember you were over visiting Chelsea in Liverpool and you had to come back to spar? You didn't know at the time, but Vaughan Lee was going to come over and spar. Yeah. So this was your 4th fight, probably? I think it was after Calais, this was it? Well, anyway, so Paddy was over visiting Chelsea, decided to have a bite to eat before getting on the plane, and what happened?
None of nightmare. Now, I just don't eat peas, right? And I was convinced that the British had had bugged me somehow, right? And then like, when he gets on the plane, I get to a certain altitude and he'll blow up. Alright? No, I wasn't, I was only messing. But we went and we ate this dinner somewhere. It was a nice little place. I ate pea and ham soup, right? And then by the time when I was on the plane, I was like, oh my god. Like I must have got food poisoning. It had to be the food over there, or the peas or something. But across the M50, right? Got past the M50, got to the house, and literally spent probably the next like hours and hours, right, in the small room upstairs. And John rings me and says, listen, Von Lee is coming over tomorrow. Like, you drop down and spar him. I'm like, Von Lee at the time was like, he was up there with me all the time, and he was a good scrapper. And it's like, there's no such thing as sparring him when you don't know the guy. Do you know what I mean? And this happened a few times, to be honest. But it's like, right, shit, you're turning up, and you got to do it. That's the way it is, because you're testing yourself. And you don't ever want to say no either. So he was coming over, and I spent the rest of the day in the toilet. I was like, John, listen, I'm in the jacks here, and I'm in bits. I have got food poisoning. You know what I mean? And he was like, well, make it if you want. And I was like, well, I'm making it so. So I said, well, I'll be there. So I made it to the session, and literally it just didn't go my way. No energy. Got a little bit behind, but I came back as well. But I would have done a lot. He probably wouldn't have fought me if I hadn't had the shits the day before. So the pin and hand suit kind of paid off, to be honest.
Because you went on to beat him.
Sorry, and then 8 weeks later, 8 days later, I get a phone call saying, we've got an opportunity for you to fight Von Lee. I'm like, cheers, mate. You know, but that's what you have to be dealing with. And the idea is that I took a little bit of a hiding in the gym, I would say, and then the idea was in my head, it was like, yeah, but you don't know, the day before I was spent in the jacks. So I had to trust in that, and then the idea I turned up, and I did the business. Yeah, I got unanimous decision against a tough opponent in Glasgow. What a place to walk out in.
Walked out to the Wolf Tones in Glasgow.
Celtic Symphony, and I didn't know that, like, very divided, and I didn't know it was that divided. On one side we're throwing bottles, at the other side it was in the middle. And someone said to me, do you know it was more dangerous you walking out the Celtic Symphony than actually fighting that night? Like, I didn't realise that night. But it was epic.
The Smoker fight didn't go your way, but must be a highlight of your career. Main event in Dublin.
Yeah, that was me. And how that came about, when you read the book, you will know that it didn't. When people ask me, when are you fighting in Dublin? Yeah, I'm fighting in Dublin. I'm the main event. I used to say this to them before the event was even mentioned. And to me, I was the main event, because why would anyone else be the main event? It didn't make sense to me. But Joe Duffy got the main event slot. Now, Joe had to pull out a few days onto it. I got moved up to the co-main event. I'm lying in bed, and Chelsea's like, you're the co-main event. I'm like, right, cheers, Daddy. The next day she texts me, she's like, don't say it. She's like, you're the main event. And I'm like, they're not going to let me know that I'm the main event in bed on Twitter. Please tell me that. And I was like, yeah, it was on Twitter. So it had already been announced that I was the main event. So listen, these boys are smart. It's on you now. You know, we know how they work now. So, and that's going to benefit fighters coming up. But they announced that because there was a good chance that I wasn't going to say no to it, and I could have used that as a negotiating tool and said, I want $1 million, you know, and because I was worthy of the main event. And 2 Flyway went in, and fair play to Smokey, he turned up in an absolute barn, you know what I mean? And it was like, he had seen what had happened to all the other fighters that turned up there, and he fought. And a guy that turned up was like, I wanted Smokey, I called him, where it probably wouldn't have been Smokey as an opponent if that was the case, you know, but I wanted him. He had a victory against the Irish guy already, and I wanted the next tough fight. He was a tough Hawaiian. He had that kind of same spirit that the Irish have, that them spirits have, and that's who I wanted to fight that day. And yeah.
But you said you can see it with the face off at the weigh-in. You can always look into someone's eyes. You love to smell them, but you knew this guy was going to be. He was there for it. Like, he wasn't going to pull out.
You know, everyone know. Like, as a fighters will know that. You know, like you look into a guy's eyes and you'll see he's kind of like, he's trying to smile to you, or he's trying to make this human connection with you, and it's like, don't let that happen. I say as a fighter, keep that strange, because that keeps the chemicals in the right place, and it keeps you in a place where you're sharp and you're ready to do the business. So when I'm looking at somebody in the eye and he's looking at me the same way, it's like, oh shit, you know, I know, you know. You know what I mean? But you can get some guys that walk up and they're like trying to shake your hand, and you're like, get that out of here. And people go, that's so disrespectful. It's not, because that's what makes me fight. And some people do shake hands, and that makes them feel like, well, this is a friends thing. Where to me, when I was getting in there, it was a ceremony. It was a spiritual thing. It was, yes, we're stepping into Elysium here or something, you know. And you close that door, and whatever happens, happens. And people looking in are like, it's so cool. It's crazy. It's just so weird to look at, say, myself walking in there and know that mind frame and know what I was thinking at them times, because you have to do this. And with Lewis Smoke, that fight was, as I said, I thought I had him in the first 30 seconds of that fight, and I literally panicked a little bit. I said to myself, oh my God, I'm going to submit him right here, right now. I went to lift the Kimura, and I don't know how it happened, but he just stood up. He stood up in it, and it's like, I finished this move all the time. I took his back, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to finish him. And then I didn't. Now looking back, as a coach, my game plan going into that fight should have been to be aware of his resilience, to go even more with the flow. So when the submission isn't there, don't be disheartened by it. When the exchange isn't there, don't be disheartened with it, because I was winning, and that's basically it. And listen, I got tired, and that's what happened. I got tired. Everything just cracked. The whole world came crashing in on me in a few moments, in them weeks wheeling up. I had so much, like 7 hours more media obligations put on top of what I had already. Days to go, making weight. Nobody cares. And that's it. And you're walking out of this arena, and when you read it, what probably wasn't my perfect performance in the dressing room either from the team that was around me. I wasn't like I was the first time, Richie. And I felt like when I went in there, I didn't give myself the best chance to be able to, like, if I had won that fight and then had to retire after it, it would have been like, you know, and astronomical. But it's still there, and it's one of these things that has made me and kept me grounded, and it is what it is. And hats off to Lewis Smoke, because what he did with the money was, he went home and he put a deposit on his family's house. I put all of the money into my SBG Dublin 24, and that's what I'm doing with it. So two youngsters met on one part of an island, fought each other, put it all on the line, and then went off and used that money to fix their family and do what they had to do. And to me, that's amazing. You know, fighting is fighting, and results are results, but they are results.
Well, losing is part of MMA. Like, do you tell your coaches that? I know now the win-or-learn thing, you've got your own viewpoint on that.
The win-or-learn thing to me was always good. It was really good in a training environment. In the idea of, like, you win and you learn in a training environment, but I could never use it when I was going to a cage to fight, because the idea to me was, it was like, you either come home with your shield or on it. That's the one I used. I'd actually heard of the win-or-learn before John had made it famous. It was actually Nelson Mandela that said it at the first, and it was the idea to do with what was going on in the country at the time. I remember reading a book in it, and I remember, like, even having that when it came up, the idea of, like, I thought about this before, you know. My grandfather would have taught me so much stuff about legends and really good poets and guys that had defended their country and fought for the honour of their nation and stuff, and he would have taught me all about this. And I remember thinking about that saying before at the same time. So to me, it was always about, literally, I had no place in my heart for losing. And like what you said there, in the idea of, like, losing is part of MMA. I think the original lads that came up, that didn't belong in their vocabulary. They don't know. Do you want to hit them? Oh, like. That didn't belong in their vocabulary. We didn't know what that meant. There was
you couldn't think of that. You had to focus on winning only.
There was no room for losing. If you lost, you slid off a ladder and died in their head. That's the way it was. You didn't make it. And the mad thing is, so many people put thousands of hours in as well as alongside us, and they didn't make it. So we've seen that happening. So the people that you see, there was more of us. There was a lot more of us. And we just happened to be the ones that cracked the egg at that time and broke through. And we owe what we have to everyone else as well. The people like Owen Roddy, the people like Tom King, Chris Fields, Tommy Martin, the people that literally took the shots at them. Like, we owe a lot to each other as well.
So Paddy, I don't want to ruin the book, so I'm not going to go into the retirement and everything around that, but we'll fast forward to the politics. So just tell us about the election day. You pulling fellas out of their beds and everything to vote.
Won't be the first time. My mad thing about that was that I was so eager, not even to get people to vote for me, but to get people to vote. To get rid of this attitude that we have in this country that voting doesn't matter, or sure, it won't make a difference. It definitely won't make a difference, because the people who are winning the votes for the last 100 years, the same two parties that have been passing the power, have left us here. Whatever side we're all on in this room, this is where we are now. And all we have to do is, this is a toilet in a centre somewhere. You know the timesheet that you sign in? It's Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, and the Jackson's in bits. So it doesn't take a scientist to work out what's going wrong here. So the idea of getting people to vote was a bigger part for me, to make people realise that, do you understand what's going on? People that, when you don't vote, they're sitting there laughing at you. We need, in my housing estate, we need to teach our youth to vote and the reason of voting. Because in other housing estates, when the vote does come down and it swings, they know how to vote. It's a day, and and there's nothing against different classes or something like that. I mean with all classes. But the thing is that we were made to believe that we are all different classes in a way. But we're not. We're all human, and the thing that changes classes is houses and money and all of that other bullshit that, when I said at the start, will not be going with you when you die. That's the realism of that. So dragging people out of bed, getting them to vote, not just to vote for me, did mention it though, but bringing them up to vote, bringing people on my road that would have threw me out of garden as a kid up to vote and all. It was amazing. It was a mad situation, it was. And it was it was strange.
I'm going to finish on this before we open the floor up to questions. So, it's important for me to achieve things that can never be taken away from me. I earned the first leaving cert in my family. I was the first Irishman to win a UFC fight on Irish soil. I was definitely the first haemophiliac on the entire planet crazy enough to fight professionally in the octagon. Now here I am, elected to public office after coming first in the polls. Paddy, it's an incredible story, so thanks very much for sharing.
Thanks so much to Richie. Richie is a huge greatness in this. Couldn't have done it without this man.
Come on, Paddy. Do we have any questions from the crowd for Paddy?
Here's something I want to say right before nobody asks a question first, because I get to do these things a lot and nobody puts their hands up. There's a thing called social camouflage, alright? And it's something that we wear to blend into a room full of people to make it feel like we're all the same. Why would you do that? You know? So don't live your life with social camouflage. When you get a chance to take that social camouflage off, take it off and voice your opinion, even if sometimes it's stupid, because you'll start to see that you'll get answers more and you'll be taken more serious. And I say this to kids in schools all over the country, and it's like, yeah, because everyone's afraid to answer the question, ask the question, you know?
Ask me a question, will you?
Give us a question now.
What's your biggest achievement?
My two sons, for sure. Yeah, my family, like anybody that has a kid, it's absolutely amazing. It's the most special moment of your whole life. Like the last time we were driving, and we were driving towards the kiln, the boy was like, it's like we were going, I was 16 again, we were going somewhere with a bag of cans and a radio. I was like, this is going to be deadly. I can't really remember it, but I know that this is going to be mental. And it was that feeling, and then the idea of when Seamus comes into the world, and it's like, it's just like bliss. It's absolutely amazing, and my hats are off the chest. Women are absolutely so strong. It's incredible what they do. But my greatest achievement is my partner in crime would be Chelsea.
Anyone else?
How did the politics come about, and where do you see yourself going with
So the podcast kind of took the wheels with that. That's actually a good question. The podcast took the wheels with that, and the idea of when I start talking to people that were supposed to know what they were doing, they didn't. And it was like talking to traditional martial artists or something about MMA. You're like, oh my God, this lad doesn't know what he's talking about. He's been doing it 20 years. And that's what started happening to me with the podcast. And then the idea was, I didn't ask for it, but Mary Lou had made contact with Colin. I'd met Mary Lou, and listen, I've been a Republican since I was a kid. I've been a Shinner since I was a kid. I grew up on the main streets of Belfast as well, you know.
And your name is Patrick Pierce Hooligan. Named after Patrick Pierce.
I was born on the anniversary of his execution. So people say to me, oh, you jumped out of the cage, you never got a Shinner. It's like, no, mate. Doesn't work like that. I've been a Republican all of my life, and I believe in the spirit of the idea of standing up for our nation. Now, I feel like I can add to this, Colin. Or like I can add a little bit of like, I can translate for my people, if you must, what's actually going on. So if we looked at this country at the moment, well, give me 2-3 minutes here, right, to answer this. So they go on about in economic growth. The economy's growing. We've got like one of the top growing economies in Europe, right? And you'll Google it and you'll see all of the charts coming up and you'll see Leo standing beside them with his pictures and all of this kind of stuff. But put in economic development. Economic development is the one that matters, because that's the one that matters to whether we have houses or whether we have healthcare or the workers doing well or the unions being listened to for the workers. Like, they don't listen to our unions in this country. Like, think about it. The nurses went all on strike and it was like, what are you doing? Get back to work out of that. And they had to, because there's patients in there, and they turned the media and all on them. And so my idea is that I can see this happen. And now I'm in a little bit of a platform that I can say this. And would it be weird to sit here and say, I know this sounds mental, that I could be the president of Ireland? If I sat in Jobestown as that kid that maybe just took that height at that time, and I said that I would be sitting here doing this, that would have more odds on it than me going and being the president of Ireland. We have people now that are in situations that, if this was a football club, we make money. This is what this country's like. We make money as a football club, but we're getting relegated every single year. And that's what it's like in simple terms. And that's what we're sitting back on. We feel like we can't do anything about it. I cannot be on the other side of history, Colin, where Tiernan turns around to me, or Seamus says to me and says, Dad, I'm reading about this thing in school where they privatised all the houses and they gave it to the developers and they ripped off all the people, robbed all their money, all the houses that they paid back to the bank, they actually took them houses back off them and sold them to vultures. Where were you when all that was happening? I was there, son. I was in the council. I was there fighting that front line. That's where I was. And that's what I have to do. That's what I said. I'm a Republican since the start. And I have to do that. It's in my name. It's a Hooligan. It means proud man. And I know that my grandfather wouldn't be able to look at me and say, what are you doing? You know what I mean? So we have to be here doing this. And if it ended up as the president of Ireland, to me that's the person that should be getting listened to. That should be telling all these boys, he's the manager. Stop doing that. Stop. You get your act together. But these boys walk around and do whatever they want. No one cares. And the papers don't write about them.
That's a good answer.
Long answer. What's your question?
Yeah, there's one at the back there, Oisin.
That is all the rap today. You made that headline today, didn't you? My mates will tell you that as well.
Give us a rap.
My friends call me Cas because my skin's so pale. We got an I was born this way. Yeah. We done an album and all, didn't we, Adam? Yeah, best album ever, wasn't it? No, it wasn't. It was terrible. Don't say that. Yeah, you better not have it somewhere. Robin lost it anyway. He lost on his hard drive. So yeah, that was the story about the rap career. It just didn't kick off.
Don't know why.
I don't know why. Oh, that's what it was, Adam, wasn't it? Listen, it's good to see people that are actually doing it these days, you know, like, and they're doing a good job of it. Like Maverick Sabre from Ireland, like as a musician, like people that are going off and doing them artistic kind of things. The Irish people are made for it. Like even listen to the Cottle's accent in the films that he's been doing, and it's amazing. Like I love it. It's like the Dublin accent in something is brilliant, and we need to use that as a chisel when we go to other countries. Story, mate. Everyone wants to talk to you. Use it as a chisel, you know what I mean? Kind of break down them barriers. Good man.
I think Robin has one there as well.
Robin, the producer of the podcast, of the No Shame podcast. Robin is an absolute legend, and the amount of work he goes into is amazing. Please just give him a round of applause for you ask these questions. Well, go. What's the question? Oh, yeah.
So, I don't know, what was the logic behind
We would have gone on him. So I'll tell you the story. So I was about 10, and me and my mate Stephen Dunn, decided to buy a horse, right? But I wasn't able to go to Smithfield, but he was going to Smithfield, and yes, we used to buy horses at the time. And what we did is we put scratching poles up out my back garden, collected potatoes and all the stuff you do, carrots and all the stuff that horses eat. And yeah, we didn't have any mad about them. But the next day, Stephen Dunn knocks on my door with a horse. Alright, it's Paddy in. It's like, what are you doing with that horse? We're sticking it out your back, missus. You know, so. And as I said, my man was kind of cool in a way when you think of it. Like, am I young enough to the door with a horse today? Don't do that thing. You know what I mean? I'll be strapping you to the horse and I'll be slapping him. Yeah. So what we would have did, we would have looked after the horse, and at the time, and still do it in council houses in the States, and people look at it, it's like, that's weird. It's very therapeutic to be around an animal as a kid, and that's known to help people. And that used to be the way to do it. You'd go up and you'd look after the horse in the field, and you'd give him the best of treatment you could, and that was it. It was like a little bond with it. But horses were all over Tala back in the day, you know. Only horse.
You said you were a fighter stuck in a jockey's body. Were you getting into horse racing, huh?
Oh, stop. Do you know what the main thing was? Having this conversation about MMA, and people go on about MMA being, how did you do it as like with hemophilia and with all this kind of stuff? And I'm like I could have been a jockey, and to me, MMA, there's been a lot less injuries in MMA than there has been in horse riding and racing. Now, I'm not getting at them sports, I don't know anything about that, but I have been in a spinal unit before. I have spent a few weeks there, and most of the people there were jockeys. And I think I could be a jockey. You know what I mean? I think I could probably get the medical and be a jockey. But I want to fight a man in a cage for money, and he won't. You can't, you know. But that's how it goes, fortunately.
Yeah, we didn't really touch on your retirement, but I suppose, how does it feel being a coach now and watching your own fighters flourish? Like, is it tougher seeing them go, or is it somewhat you're living kind of through them?
Oh, it's amazing, because we're going through a phase now, and I remember us going through it. Like, I remember like when me and Ash and Kyle and everyone was going through, like, there's a phase where it's just hard, where it's just not going right. Because everyone in the room, what they're doing is they're actually gathering experience, and they're kind of like, if you look loads of blunt blades rubbing off each other at the start, and then they go and sharpen themselves, and then they sharp blades, and then all of a sudden the sharp blades start sharpening each other, and then it's good. You know, so it's not one of these situations where somebody goes, we're going to roll in and they're going to leave, and I'm not into that, you know what I mean? I'm into the development, I'm into the idea of us moving forward together. And I really feel like, listen, if we made it, if we can do it when there was no such thing as weight divisions, like when Ash was training to fight in the UFC, there was no females, let alone the weight division in it. So she was kind of training for something that didn't even exist at the time. That's amazing. I still don't get over that sometimes, and I'm like, you're probably like, oh shit, actually I was, yeah. You know what I mean? But it paid off, so it's hard. If you want to be a footballer, there's a road to that. If you want to, we just happen to be the guys that paved that road for these little kids that are growing up now, and adults that want to be fighters, that want to do what we did and do it the way we did. And I will go on a limb and say that the dream is the UFC. The dream when you wake up and you want to be a fighter is the UFC. And that's what we want to help people do now. So I want to help people do that, but not only through that, I want to, the kids that don't get a look in places, I want to bring them in, and I want to show them that it's magic. The people that don't believe in themselves, say the guys that are a little bit insecure, that are a little bit older, and they're kind of lost in that little pool of life. Come in, do some jiu-jitsu, and I promise your life will get better. It's like a social community, you know, and it's that's been a huge part of what I'm doing, a huge energy source of that, and passing on to all you guys now that train with me, and watching you linger with each other and trying to make you not make the mistakes that are very obvious to me, but won't be so obvious to you at the moment. But I won't say when you get older, I won't say that, but kind of, you know what I mean, in a way.
I'll have to push you now. Do you miss it?
Yeah, I really do. Do you know what I miss? I miss the team. I miss the camaraderie. I miss somebody about being around all you guys all the time. Richie Smullen, Tommy, Blaine, Art, and all of the boys. Ash. I miss it so much. Because the thing is, I was doing it for the right reasons. I was doing it for the reason. It was never like it was to change my family's life. But I found something. It was like I jumped on a skateboard and I'm like, oh, I'm good at this. I can do this. You know, and not only that, I'm mentally built for this. Like, time started to go forward in my life where I was like I don't believe in religion, I don't believe in like anything, but I'm spiritual. As Father Martin sitting there one of my school chaplains is here today. He was at my first ever grappling match where I grappled a guy out in Santry somewhere or something, wasn't it? And I was grappling and he was there, and like, it was me and him, he's probably one of my best friends as well, and the idea is that I'm spiritual. He says to me, he's the one who says this to me more than anybody else, you're spiritual. In the idea that I can sense what's going on. I can sense what's coming about things, you know, and when I see everyone getting built up and all, it's like, I'll be like, I say, for an alcoholic watching somebody drinking cans or something, you know? That's what it feels like. What does it taste like? Give us a sniff. No, it's hard, you know what I mean? It's hard.
Paddy, has your fighter mindset helped you in politics? Has it still shaped your approach to politics?
I think that mindset, because we played football together many years ago in Dublin Celtic, and it was mad, because then years later, like, we met back through each other through Connor. This is Connor's mate. So, and it was mental. It's like, oh no! We knew each other, so we kind of, and we were the same people then, and we were able to recognise that. You've gone on to do massive successful things, and you've travelled around the world with Connor as well, and you see the mindset that it takes and that it develops. It creates a mindset. It's like anything. If you, like, your ears in fighting, you get cauliflower ears from fighting. If you put your body in a situation, it will start to evolve to that environment, and that's what your mind does. Now, I'm standing in a room with people that have very, very little real life experience. Not this room, obviously, because the goose is here, and you know, there's loads here, there's loads of life experience here. But in the chamber, there's not that much life experience. It's a lot of people that know a lot of stuff that they've been taught from a lot of books, and I won't stay away from that. But experience is everything. And the mindset of, like, when I'm seeing someone over there and I know he's not being true, I said it in an interview, it was like, he's either a bullshitter or a hitter when you look him in the eyes. And that's it. So when you look him in the eyes, you're like, a talking pony, mate. Or you can tell someone that, like, people that I would have, like, say, Fianna Fáil councillors, they would have stood up and said something, and I would have been like, holy shit, I had you wrote off. I would have thought that you were different. But they're talking about passion, and they're talking about, like, homelessness, and I can tell that they're real. And there's a good chance they'll be Sinn Féin in a little while. I'm only messing, but they won't go far in Fianna Fáil to keep talking about that helping people stuff.
I know we're a bit caught for time now, so just the last question, Paddy. If you're 31, you have a book out. There's obviously going to be another one. Can I write it now? But what will your legacy be?
I want to give more than I took. I want to help people with the lessons that I've learned, and the people that have came with me. There's people that I've looked up to on this journey, that are in this journey, and I still look up to so much, you know. And the idea is that now they would ask me for advice at times, and I'd be like, oh shit, excited about it. But the idea is I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to be the realest motherfucker that can be, you know, and say it how it is. I'm getting better at the idea of keep knowing when to fight them battles as well, because you need to be careful. It's not easy to go around these days and have freedom of speech and say what you want to say, you know. A great line that I'll end this on is from the Chimp Paradox. It's the idea of, this is a talk that I do in all the schools, I do it in prisons, and when I go in and do it, there's actually a lad that was at one the other night, and he's here, and he was like, listen, I came because I seen that stuff you did the other night, and now I'm here again for more of it.
Did he break out of prison?
No. Don't worry, Tony, I didn't know sleeping before you know it. The saying is, the ability to manage your impulsive chimp will ultimately determine how successful you will be. And that's life, really.
Brilliant. I'd like to finish by giving a round of applause to Paddy. Excellent. Just thanks very much to Gil as well, and to Pete and everybody that's helped make this a reality. Paul Fogarty as well, especially for putting us together. So thanks, enjoy the night, and we'll be sticking around anyway. Cheers.
Yeah. Thanks so much. There's that point. So there you have it. Episode 100 of the No Shame podcast from 22, the live launch of the book, The Hooligan, exclusively to the No Shame listeners. That was a journey, I have to say. It was different from being in the studio, being in a room full of people drinking beer
having the crack. It kind of takes the edge off. I don't know, when you get that chimp a little bit drunk, it's a little bit easier. As I said, so humble, so proud of what we've built here with the No Shame podcast. I couldn't have done this without Robin. I couldn't have done this without Mark from Big Boom Digital. All of the people that have helped us, all the people that have supported and shared this. I'm forever grateful, and I really appreciate this support. Thank you. Episode 100. Look after yourself.